Welcome back, everybody, to our coverage of the European Team Chess Championship 2017. Round number 3 on the top board. There is the clash between Hungary and the Netherlands, which means there is also Peter Leko versus Anish Giri on the top board. There was a lot of speculation. Leko with the white pieces will probably play it safe, still extremely well prepared. Anish Giri has a reputation for being drawish anyway, so people say, okay, this game is gonna be a draw, but it is actually not easy, and it looks like now Mr. Giri is the one with the better chances already out of the opening after blitzing out his first 21 moves, somewhere in that neighborhood. Leko had to take some time here after h4, rook c5. Leko put his queen on b3 when it seemed like the more active route was to put it on e4. But kept an eye on h7 and e7, but probably Leko did not enjoy the look of rook a8 targeting pawn on a2. So queen b3 was played, d5, bishop e2, and rook to d8 by Anish Giri, committing the rook to d8. Interesting. There were other options like pushing the pawn to b4, but it feels like that only black can bear with this extra pawn current. So that match still in full swing. One game that has already ended is the game by Yuri Kuzubov, who's become a bit of a terror with the white pieces, especially here against two lower rated guys. Peter Schreiner in the first round was a bit of a short game, and today same thing happens again against André Ventura Sousa from Portugal, who does not make it very far out of the opening against Kuzubov. And well, his position already looked a little dubious, but the main culprit has to be the move e5. I don't know, having played like this, might as well grab the pawn and hope for the best here, because after e5, bishop takes f6, Sousa's position turned out to be fairly terrible. Pretty much instantly, you have to recapture with a pawn, and such light square weaknesses against a player of Kuzubov's level are pretty bad news. Knight h4, queen h5, bishop e4. Gone, baby, gone. And Kuzubov does not need a lot of moves to wrap up from here. Takes, knight f5 check, king f8, queen h6. King g8, queen g7 is checkmate, and king e8, d takes e5 was also not deemed worthy to continue the game after f3, rook ad1. For example, queen c7. Queen f6, rook f8, knight g7. Would be one way to end it. So Kuzubov with another quick victory for Ukraine. Ukraine, of course, losing their match to the Netherlands yesterday. Therefore, they're facing a slightly low-rated squad in Portugal today. It looks like Ukraine shall jump over the hurdle. They also brought in Mr. Krivorushko, who was praised by Anish Giri yesterday, and will probably be back in the running ASAP. Can I get the cameras on the screen so I can check out people's outfits? Let's see who we will get. There's the top board. There's Jordan van Foreest with his checkered shirt. Zoltan Almashi in the black shirt, just getting up. So, if we're looking at Jordan, might as well look at his position. Bishop g2, queen to g6. Almashi is still a pawn up, but is also still dealing with the task to organize his pieces that look a little all over the place here. Knight e4. Bishop b4 maybe. Complicated. Van Foreest is much more dynamic than most of the most of the Dutch players, but I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not sure there's really a Dutch school of chess because they're all quite different. Like Van Vele pretends to be an attacking player, but is really more of a technician. Ivan Sokolov is more of an attacking player. Tivyakov, of course, more of a grinder. Benji Bok and Erwin Lamy, solid guys, theoreticians. Anish Giri, of course, universal player, but also more of a theoretician, solid player. And Jordan, he likes his King's Indians, his Scottish Blue White, his pawn sacrifices. He has a bigger tolerance for muddy waters than the rest of them. Knight to e4 has been played, and I would expect Zoltan Almashi to play bishop b4. Not only stepping out of knight takes d6 and c5, but also keeping the a5 pawn alive. When this could still very much go either way. Takes followed by a3 in order to open the a file. Very sharp position. Can I go d5, try to use this pin, or will I get mated? I'll probably get mated. Takes, rook, fc1, c6. Nah, this looks too dangerous for black. I was trying to win a piece here, but for example, queen c5 now would always stop me from doing so. And with this king in the middle, in the thick of it, yeah, does not feel like the way to go. In the meantime, I will stare a little at Benji Bok and his very trendy hairdo. What do you call that? An undercut? I'm not sure. Benji Bok is more of a millennial than me, so I'm not sure if I can pull this off. But it looks like Benji just went to the haircutters, hairdressers. I'm not sure where he's from, Tilburg. Right before the tournament, told him I'm gonna be on camera a lot because I think we shall be playing on the main board. So give me something stylish here. Cut out the ear. The ear has to be free, so I can hear my team captain yelling instructions. And yeah. It's going to be warm and grease, so I don't need to have a lot of hair down low. All of this, of course, is speculation. Let's look at his position and speculate. How that one is against Richard Rapport. Richard Rapport, by the way, looks exactly like the up-and-coming basketball superstar, Mr. Luka Doncic. So I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but look it up. I went to a Real Madrid basketball game, and every time Doncic entered the court, I thought it was Rapport. It was very freaked me out a little. As for the game, I like White's position. It's a bit weird, but I think it's the kind of weird that Rapport will enjoy, where it's a slightly non-standard structure, which is normally what he wants, because he has a very good understanding of pawn structures and what goes where in general. And especially if the position is a little non-standard, he often has an edge, because the most of us mortals understand it better if we are following well-established patterns. Well, it feels like Rapport doesn't really need that. And here, I like the way he set up his pieces with f4 intending to play king to f2. Everything has good breathing space. Then b4 is looming, knight to b5 is looming, knight on b6 could be a little misplaced. So it looks like the Hungarians are doing fairly well on board number 3. Which board did we omit? Yeah, we did look at Erwin Lamy's game, where earlier, Grandmaster Stuart Atalik said the white was better in his opinion. I didn't really dig the white position that much. But who knows where the truth lies? Queen to e8 is a typical defensive move. And the idea is normally that you want to meet queen to h5 with f5 and make use of the fact that en passant is only allowed for one move in a row. And here, after this f5, you should not take en passant because queen takes h5. So this queen e8 is a typical prophylactic measure against queen h5 in such positions. The problem with it, of course, that you have to put your queen on e8, which is somewhat passive square. So I would guess Lamy changes tracks now. Goes rook c1, rook d1, whatnot. Maybe one day knight d2, knight to e4, and tries to prove that the queen on e8 is slightly misplaced. Not sure it really is though. What else can I tell you? There in the background we see Peter Leko, always well dressed, and Victor Erdos, a little more casually with the, what is he drinking? Is that a Coca-Cola? I would guess so. What's on his t-shirt? Does it say "Just Do It"? I think it says "Just Do It," which I believe is the slogan of a popular sports apparel company. Yeah, Erdos, standing there, drinking his Coke, seems to be enjoying life and does not mind his position, probably is quite happy with this queen e8 move, stopping queen to h5 and adding checkmatery.
Yeah, and we're being watched by one of the big names who is missing here in Crete, and that's...
Kramnik, how you doing?
Well, one of the big names, it's Nils Guandelius, who is asking me if Jan has gotten even more ironic than usual.
Why? What have I said that was not 100% truthful? I'm sorry, I do not mean to ironic anybody. Because I know there's a lot of people that you can't ironic, and Niels is certainly one of them. Niels, of course, always very straight up and truthful, tries to uphold moral principles. So I'm glad he's pointing it out, and I shall try to better myself. Speaking of Nils Guandelius and the Swedish team, Fiona, you know such things. Why aren't they here?
I think internal politics, financial, but I don't know enough about it to go into it.
Okay.
They should be. We're missing our dear friend, Niels, dearly.
I agree. It's a great pity, because Niels, he only has so many years where he's in his prime, could represent the Swedish national team. And if they're wasting his prime because of infighting, I have no idea what's happening, I'm just speculating. That's a great pity. No irony in that sentence, Niels. But we're glad you're watching. What did I want to look at? I wanted to see the Papayuanu game. Because he sacrificed a rook out of necessity on f7 earlier, but it was still very interesting. King g8, for example, would not be ideal, because king f8 followed by queen f7 would be checkmate. Apparently you can take the rook and then defend this position with king e8 if queen takes e6. Knight.
It's shorter.
I understand. So Pap would have taken on e6 with the knight, most likely, threatening g7 and c7 with some interesting play. And Lupulescu did not want any part of it, and he decided to play a little Zwischenzug here in form of knight takes d4. Point being, the knight bravely, unselfishly gives his life to help the queen defend the pawn on e6 after e takes d4. This happened. King takes f7. Now black is only an exchange up, but knight g5 is no longer much of a headache, because he could go king g8, and after queen e6 he could recapture. Well, knight e6, I guess rook e8 is good enough. Pinning. Instead, Pap went knight e5, and moves were repeated once, but then Lupulescu remembered he's an exchange up and decided to deviate with queen b6. Now after queen a2, yeah, it doesn't feel like white has enough for the exchange. Of course, black still has to get his king out of the danger zone, do something like rook e8, knight d5, h6, king h7. The problem is, if I search for Pap, I always get all kinds of games here. I get Papadopoulos facing Andrei Makovey, and I get Petra Pap's game from the women's section as well. Who's Papadopoulos? Is this Greece number 3?
No, he's
no, it's Greece 2.
Greece 3.
Greece 3.
Greece 3, yes. He's a local kid from Hania, the other major city in Crete.
I think I've been to Hania. There was a European Club Cup maybe at some point?
Twice.
Twice even, yeah. Can you tell us why a lot of events end up being in Crete? Which of course we enjoy because it's nice here, but what's the history behind it?
I would guess a combination of factors. First of all, there is great infrastructure here, lots of big hotels with conference centers, all this tourist infrastructure. Second, a lot of active chess clubs in Crete, so it's quite popular on the island. There is support from the local authorities. And okay, Greece, compared to most European countries, at least the Western ones, is quite a cheap place, especially hotel accommodations. So.
No, yeah, and I haven't heard a single complaint, especially this hotel, where we already had the tournament 10 years ago as well, the Crete Maros. Like, it's fantastic, and people seem very happy to be here. By the way, this voice from the off you're hearing is our producer and jack of all trades, Sotiris Logotetis. Am I mispronouncing your name very badly?
No, not at all.
Okay, excellent. Who, yeah, is the only guy who has any clue about stuff that's happening here. So now that we're looking at the Papadopoulos game. Papadopoulos? Some King's Indian. I was taught that if you exchange the light square bishops, white is okay in such positions, because after g3 you can go h3. Keep the king side closed and don't get checkmated. So I'm guessing Andrei Makovai from Moldova. They are giving a rest to who's resting there?
Amicevic.
Sorry?
Amicevic.
Amicevic is taking a rest, and our friend Nikita Morozov is playing on board 3. So yeah, the Crete team probably slightly outmatched, but it ain't over at all yet. Let's go back to the women's section, where of course we have one of the key matchups that every such women's tournament has. There's Russia-Georgia, there's Russia-Ukraine, and yeah, those are the big ones here. Today we do get Russia versus Ukraine, which has some added tension because of the Katerina Lachno used to play for Ukraine or for Russia situation. Even though it's a while ago, I'm not sure it's still much of a storyline. On the top board, Alexandra Kostyniuk versus Anna Musicuk. And it looks like Musicuk is doing fine. I talked about this structure earlier, where white tries to get the 3 versus 2 on the queen side. Black has a 4 versus 3 on the king side. Rolling on the queen side. Why did I have to go there? h3, bishop e5. Women's world champion, who has not been very active recently. We still haven't found out why she's missing. I will try to figure that out one day. But instead, Natalia Shukova is playing against Katerina Lachno. Yeah, the opening, I thought this line that Shukova chose is not supposed to be very good. After knight to a3, Lachno, however, decided not to hang on to the extra pawn on c4. Instead, gave it back, and now after knight c4, queen c5, b3, at the very least, white shouldn't have any troubles. Bishop a3 is looming, rook d8, bishop d2, okay. No more bishop a3. Bishop d7, rook c1, bishop e8. Yeah, equal position, I would guess. Rook c8 is coming. This bishop on e8 looks a little silly, but its main function is to get out of the way, have the rooks connected, and it also does a very useful job of overprotecting the c6 knight and the f7 square if you ever need it. So this is a useful maneuver for black to complete. After knight to e4, let's say takes, bishop takes, rook ac8. Black has absolutely nothing to worry about. Lachno, the rating favorite in this game, outranks Shukova by around 100 points, I would guess. Let me look it up. Here we are, Lachno 2541, Shukova 2426, so more than 100 points. On board 3, the rating difference is only around 50 points. Valentina Gunina, higher rated than Anna Ushinina. And what's going on here? Tactics? No, not really. This opening, I believe they were following this Kasparov game. It's somewhere here, the bishop d2. Shenina fearlessly grabbed the pawn, but of course Gunina normally does not have to be asked twice to make the position a little murkier. Knight f5, castles, knight to e6. Her point must be after bishop takes e6 to jump to g5 with the knight, targeting the e7 pawn. Still unclear, bishop g4, f3, bishop f5, with fire on board, maybe g4, okay, fantasizing here. Maybe bishop g4 is not the way to do it, but if you can't do that, if you go, let's say bishop f5, rook takes e7, white seems to be doing alright, because black has to struggle a bit not to lose an exchange here. Let's say queen b8, rook a7, queen a7, bishop f8, and this would not be enough compensation, so we might have to resort to some trickery, like rook to d8. Going for some countermates, and also getting this rook out of the line of fire from this a3 bishop. Might still work. Rook e1, queen b8. There seems to be no direct knockout blow. So, still everything to play for in Gunina Ushenina. Knight to g5 is on the board. Board number 4. Ina Gaponenko versus Olga Giri. I was not a fan of Gaponenko's opening, and yes, she's had to make some concession to keep the position roughly balanced here. Had to play g4, equal pawn structure, but the white king is weaker, which is an open invitation for black to go after it by playing f5. Complicating the issue. Things do not look great for Gaponenko there. There we see her in the, what do you call the color? Beige? Cream? I don't know. Outfit versus Olga Giri wearing some red thing. I like English too. Gunina sitting next to her in black. And then we have Katerina Lachno, board 2. Alexandra Kostenyuk on board number 1. The Russian squad, the overwhelming favorites to win here in this women's section. And today, so far, the match seems to be going well, especially on board number 4. Russia is clearly pressing. While on board number 1, Kostenyuk might be in some amount of trouble. So, yeah, nothing clear yet. Let's check in with the Spanish ladies for a second, coached by my friend David Martin, who had a big victory, 3.5 the other day, versus Romania on the top board. Yekaterina Atalik. We heard a lot of Suat Atalik, who's not playing here. His wife, Yekaterina Atalik, is playing, versus Sabrina Vega Gutierrez. Turkey versus Spain. Yekaterina Atalik should be the rating favorite in this matchup. Yeah, 2-4-68 versus 2-4-05. Let's see how this went. Some fake stonewall. I always like the system for white, even though there's many people saying this is quite playable for black. Well, it seemed sensible to me that against a stonewall you don't have to put your knight on f3. Let's say you play knight e2, f3. Control that square with pawns. DC, bishop c4, queen e7. I guess one drawback is that black can go for some sort of e5 counterplay. e4, c5. Sabrina Vega wants it all. But I like this shift as well with the rook on e1. White goes e4. Now trying to go after the e6 weakness. Knight b6, ab. Knight f4, queen c7, queen c1, e5. Takes. Takes not on the board yet, but should happen. Takes. Complicated position, but I always believe in white's chances here because the black king is more exposed than the white king. We shall see. Board 2, shooting star of the Spanish team, Marta. Old, but she's more experienced than Marta. Rating wise, yeah, quite close. Yildiz 2-3-50, Garcia 2-3-15. And the position on the board, some strange endgame. This is this very particular line of the Scottish that leads to this very weird structure. And yeah, both sides have weaknesses. Probably roughly equal. Board 3, Kubra Ostrog versus Anna Matnaza. g5, trying to trap the bishop. Oh, looked like a peaceful position. Then I spotted this pawn on g5. Very aggressive. Maybe it's a good move. Maybe white has to force a draw by taking here. Going bishop d6. Takes. So yeah, g5, very creative idea, would probably not have crossed my mind. Because black is fine with f6, bishop d6, knight d2, all kinds of moves. g5, very sharp. And on board number 4, Monika Kapseta against Iskandarova for Turkey. Roughly equal, I would guess. White is a pawn up, but black has this very powerful battery on the long diagonal. So yeah, should be around equal. There we see Monika Kapseta next to her. Anna Matnadze, board 3. Marta Garcia, board 2. You get the idea. Where shall we go? We've covered the match on the top board. There's another top match ongoing between Georgia and Hungary on board number 2. Nana Zagnidze on board 1. Board 1 of board 2. I know it's confusing. Match 2, board 1. Nana Zagnidze with white against Hoang Tan Trung. I once lost to Hoang Tan Trung. I was still a young man, chasing Grandmaster norms, like the tournament in Budapest, where I believe she used to live, or probably still lives, is representing Hungary. And she crushed me with, I think, the Leningrad Dutch. So it was a bit of a traumatizing experience. I did once defeat Nana Zagnidze, so that should mean that Hoang Tan Trung is a big favorite in this match. But by rating, Zagnidze actually has almost 100 points more than Hoang Tan Trung. As for the position, I always like white in the structure. This is a very typical structure. You get all kinds of Dutch openings. It's easier to play with white. Put a knight on d5 and take it from there. But with the limited amounts of material left, I guess it's roughly equal. Board 2, Shidonia Vaida, who I always hope I don't get these family ties wrong. I believe her brother is a grandmaster as well, Levante Vaida. I could be wrong. That's correct. Yeah. And Nino Batsiashvili with the black pieces for Georgia can now take the pawn on a2 if she wants to. Who wouldn't want to take that pawn? Yeah. Black is better. Pawn is a pawn. Bella Kotinashvili, not related to the Bella from Starlight Twilight, for all I know. But a favorite here against Petra Papp, who, speaking about family ties, we had this discussion yesterday. Her brother Grandmaster?
Yeah.
So many people with Grandmaster relatives out there, especially in chess tournaments. Anyway, Bela Kotinashvili with the white pieces here, putting pressure. Queen g3, e5, bishop g6 looming, knight g6 looming, knight h5 looming. This looks extremely unpleasant. I don't even know how to defend with black. e5 maybe? Then boom. Boom, boom. Game over already. So after queen g3, which has not yet been played, it looks like Petra Papp has her work cut out for her here for Hungary. Outrated by more than 100 points as well against Bela Kotinashvili. Yeah, this does not look nice. Let's look at the opening. This was some standard Grunfeld. f3, bishop d7, which I believe is also what Peter Svidler recommended in his video series about the Grunfeld on Chess24. I think he gave this bishop g4, f3, bishop d7 business. Rook b1, queen c7, bishop f4, queen c8. So far so good. Rook c1, queen d8. Maybe that's overdoing the queen dance a little bit. I thought the plan was normally to go rook d8 and then maybe bishop e8 here if we need it. Queen d8, bishop e3. Who's won a tempo here and why? Looks like we started with this position. And if white had played rook c1 here, we would have gotten the same position that we will get in the game a couple moves later. Very confusing. Anyway, all of this looks fine for black. I should say it as well. Queen a1, knight a5. Somewhere black must have drifted a little. I'm not sure where. Crude fields are tough. Bishop d7 feels a little slow somehow. Versus Leila Yavakishvili, Titia Gara's sister Anita Gara, as we're speaking about family ties, is also on the national team but resting today. And Yavakishvili is in the driver's seat here, so this match looks very, very good for the favorites from Georgia. Because if I'm counting correctly, black is a pawn up here as well. So yeah, Georgia, the number 2 seed, and Fiona was arguing the other day, the only team that could be dangerous for Russia in this tournament. Cruising so far against Hungary. Let's go back to the open section. And Anish Giri is also trying to open the position on the king side. Surprisingly, he's played h6. Normally not a thing you would expect, that black opens the king side here, where his king is situated. But Anish is showing that he has a little something called range, and he sees the whole chessboard, and he's arguing, now that I've distracted all your pieces in the center and on the queen side, I want to undermine this little pawn chain you got going on the king side here. Probably well played by Anish Giri, h6 on the board. If rook takes f4, he wants to take, I guess. Even though, yeah, it's not the end of the story after rook b4, it looks like. White's position is still very much defendable, if worse. But Anish working hard here to make this game more complex, to create winning chances. Because Anish Giri, the only Dutch player that is outrating his opponent. The Dutch rating underdogs on all the other boards, very small rating underdog on board number 2, Erdős and Lamy. Pretty similar ratings, but then Benji Bok and Joran van der Raest outrated by almost 100 points on boards 3 and 4. So it's logical that Anish is trying to make something happen on the top board. On the second board, the queens have come off, which Erwin, he often gets his endgames, and so this is in line with his style, but black must be very relieved to get in queen h5, f5. There's nothing that will ever happen to his king here, and now you can just start exploiting that the black minor pieces are controlling some nice squares in the center. So this is very pleasant for Viktor Erdős. I'm aware that Anish Giri tweeted the other day, you can't defeat Lamy from an equal endgame, something like that, I'm paraphrasing. But here, I think Erdős should be quite happy. Knight b6, knight to e1. We shall see. Of course, it's defendable, but it's not fun for white. Some assessment like that also applies to the Benjamin Bok position, I would guess. Defendable, but not fun for black in this case. Where Rapport. After f4, Bok took probably a good decision, tried to complicate the position a bit by playing e5 takes, trying to activate his bishop. The price you have to pay is that you get these slightly weak pawns on e5 and c5, but you could argue that e2 is just as weak, even though you'd probably lose that argument. Bishop g5, rook to e8, knight to f2, typical maneuvering stuff. The knight is headed towards e4. Rapport doing Rapport things, but the game is by no means over. I know bishop f5 maybe. Benji hanging in there. And the most interesting position seems to be the one on board number 4 between Joran van der Raest and Mr. Zoltan Almashi. We've seen the position after knight e4, bishop b4. I thought Joran would take and then play a3, but he had other plans. He went bishop to e3, getting out of the way. And after c5, doesn't waste any time trying to defend the knight on e4, because probably after f3, f5, this attempt at defending it would be sort of futile anyway. Instead, after c5, Jordan counterattacked by playing a3, when we get some endgame as well here? Takes. Guess you have to take, and take. Black is currently 2 pawns up, but yeah, after he takes on b4, he would be 2 pawns up, but he would not be able to enjoy that for long because after bishop takes c5, probably followed by bishop takes b4. White will be able to keep the balance and pick up the pawns that have disappeared earlier. I don't think white is better though. King b7 looks safe enough for black, even though maybe teeny tiny bit better. Should be 45 now to exploit this pin. Now, Almashi seems to have things more or less under control. And we have to switch to the Russia match because there has been a bit of a miniature on board number 2. Jan Nepomniachtchi has already won his game versus Viktor Laznička. We've seen the opening where it seemed like Nepomniachtchi at least won the theoretical debate, blitzed out queen c2, and Laznička was already struggling to hang in there, or at least time-wise he was struggling. Played bishop e7, takes, and bishop g5, which looks a little adventurous. Maybe g6 to take to castle. Not sure. Anyway, bishop g5, rook ce1, g6, g4. Whew. Nepomniachtchi doesn't have to be asked twice to create tension here. F takes g, knight to e4, bishop e7. Black is a pawn up, and if he were allowed to castle, he could very much still be doing alright. But Nepomniachtchi does not waste any time by going rook d1, queen c8, and pawn to e6 opens all the floodgates. Queen c3 is now on the agenda. Black would just castle after e takes f7, rook takes f7. Yeah, he just gets overwhelmed here by attackers. All this stuff has to be calculated quite accurately, but we can trust Nepomniachtchi in such things. Fantastic calculator. Seems like he would break through here as well. Instead, after e6, Laznička decided to play f. So how does this finish? Queen c3 targets the rook on h8. Of course, castles is no longer legal because the white f rook blocks the f1. Rook f8 takes, bishop takes, queen h8. Nice move. Threatening all kinds of things like knight f6, followed by queen h7, and also a little move called knight d6, picking up the black queen. And surprisingly, that's the end already. Laznička resigned here. Let's try to make a defensive move. Queen c7, for example. Knight d6 check. The king goes to the d file. Knight b5, discover check, wins the queen at the very least. After king e7, queen h7. It's also the end. King to d8, knight b5. Same problem. So yeah, brutal win by Jan Nepomniachtchi versus Viktor Laznička, 1-0 for Russia in their match against the Czech Republic. And that, of course, should make the going a little smoother. In the Navarra-Grishuk game, Grishuk has also shown why he's a top 10 player in the world and has outmaneuvered David Navarra, established a knight on f4 already, and here after c6. Black is already, I'm not sure how seriously better, but seriously better. So things looking good for the Russian squad. On the bottom 2 boards, their rating advantage should be even bigger, even though the experienced spinner Gracek with the white pieces will make sure not to lose this. A lot of stuff has been exchanged, and I would not be surprised. This is move 29. If this game ends peacefully in like 2 moves, because the players aren't allowed to agree to draws before move 30. So move 31 has been the cutting point where a lot of games are ending. There we see Spinner Gracek in the light blue shirt. And we see Maxim Matlakov on board number 3, studying the position. What's going on? This was some weird anti-Grunfeld chess theory these days. He plays queen c2, then after knight c6 he plays queen b3. This is actually a line that I've studied myself. It makes sense, but it's still confusing. You go queen c2, Knight c6, queen b3, knight b6, d4, bishop e6, queen d1. And now we argue that these little queen moves have achieved something for white. Chess. Such a deep game. What else can I tell you? Levon Aronian has drawn his game against Ivan Saric on board 1 for Armenia. No surprise there, we saw this theoretical debate in the Marshall. And you cannot defeat Levon Aronian in this position. All the other games are still going. It seems from a glance that Malcolm Young doesn't have anything special on board 4. Movsesia on the board is still full of pieces. He's probably slightly better. And Gabriel Sargsyan is playing an equal position against El Yankovic on board number 3. Let's look at the Germans. The Germans drew their board 1 game. Daniel should convert this advantage against Sabino Brunello, who will need a lot of motivating from his coach Artur Kogan to get back on track after that one. Maybe not. Board 3, Dvierny against Bluebaum. Bluebaum is comfortable. Dvierny has the isolated pawn. Still should be tenable. Such a position is very hard for black to make progress. But if anybody's better, it is black. And board number 4, my former pupil, Rasmus Svane against Michele Godena. Rasmus Svane. I like the structure for white because here you have a good 4/3 on the king side. If you ever get rolling, things can end up being nasty for black. The knight on b6 also looks a little funky. One question is, however, if knight g4 in this very position can be done to throw a spanner in all these long-term plans. Bishop to f4, g5, and it's committal, but I think black has to do something like this in order to mix it. What else is there? One never runs out of games. I could just keep clicking on stuff here and something fresh all the time. Speaking of something fresh, how is Fres doing on board number 3 against Ilya Smirin? I still don't know. I've stared at this position for seconds now. I don't know. Take? I thought at first we can't do this because then queen g4 followed by queen c8 picks up a rook, but maybe the story does not end there because here white would probably get checkmated. King h2, queen f4. So complicated. Boom. So maybe after gh6 instead. I would have to give perpetual check, which you can easily do here. By playing queen f5, the king can't go to the 8th rank, because then he will pick up the rook with check. And after king g7, queen g4. Same logic applies. King does not want to go to the 8th rank, so you have to repeat moves with king h7. I'm not sure if yeah, equal position against Tamir Nabati. What's Nabati's rating nowadays? Did he win so much rating that he made the national team? Let me look that up. Oh, 2661. Wow, he's much higher rated than me. I'm so out of touch. Boom, that's impressive. Fiona, what's happening in the outside world?
I was thinking.
Okay.
I've been thinking. No, I was thinking what we were talking about the other day about tension, and I was just taking a few photos and videos in the playing hall.
There we see Laurent Fressinet, by the way.
And I feel the tension today is already a lot more tangible than it was on day one. Leko is becoming quite short on time. I'm not sure what the position is exactly. Can we?
Yeah, he's hanging in there. Well, it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean.
So he's tense, poor Leko boy.
He's tense and Anish is, but I mean Anish always looks confident. But he's